FANSPLAINED, a media criticism podcast with Ryan and Em. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Em.
And in this episode, we're continuing our MCU hiatus with the Marvel film Multiverse. This time, we're digging into X-Men Dark Phoenix. It's the 12th X-Men film release, 7th as a team title, sort of. And now we're wrapping up the timeline in terms of the films.
Yes, and I have already explained the timelines in X-Men Apocalypse. I'm not bringing out the pens again and doing it again, so go watch that for a better explanation.
we did it in Days of Future Past.
Well, whichever one we did it in.
We did it in Days of Future Past.
Whichever, I can't keep track of all of them.
Just like we have a hard time keeping track of the timelines.
Yeah. But yes, go watch those. This is the end of the line for the Fox new X-Men films because, well, I mean,
in this timeline.
We still technically have New Mutants, but we are not going to be getting to that for a while.
Yeah, we're not doing that one with this set of timeline stuff. So, X-Men Dark Phoenix was formally released in June of 2019. It had been delayed several times. We know this because we kept getting mad every time we finished this movie back.
Between this and the final Rebuild Evangelion movie, I was like, am I ever gonna stop being cock-blocked by all these different studios? Just release the movies!
We felt the same way about New Mutants.
Yeah.
But I don't feel the same way about the New Mutants movie as I do this, so...
Well, I haven't watched that one yet either, so...
Fair. So, it was produced by 20th Century Fox, but this movie's kind of interesting because it is hardcore a victim of the Disney-Fox final merger.
Yes.
After the buyout.
Like,
that's part of the reason for a lot of the delays. It's part of the reason for a lot of the movie changes because it overlapped with too many things Marvel was doing at the time.
Yeah, like, it started with Fox's hands and everything, and then and because of the merger, Disney came in and demanded changes of it.
And it had multiple rewrites, multiple reshoots. This movie was plagued. I'm glad we got it, but I am also kind of surprised we got it. The amount of drama that surrounded just the release of this movie because of just the merger
and honestly
boning everything.
And honestly, it's a damn shame because after all the iterations of the Dark Phoenix and Phoenix Saga that I've seen, after rewatching X-Men 3 again for the first time in a long time, I can safely say that I genuinely liked this movie, and it was it was the same storyline, but it was told very differently than the previous times, and I enjoyed how it was told. Yeah. And it's a damn shame that this was plagued with so much shit, and that so many people ended up hating it, because I'm like, I don't get the hate.
I don't get it either, but I feel like we should note, and I don't normally do this with, like, your opinion's wrong. Like, if you like things that we don't like, great. If you don't like things we do like, great. That's fine. But I do feel that the opinion that this movie is exactly the same as X3 is wrong, because it is not the same movie. It is not done the same way.
It is not even remotely close.
Remotely the same movie.
It's not remotely close to being the same movie.
They both have problems. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But our problems with them are not remotely the same problems.
No, I had way more problems with X3. My problems with this one are purely a lot of writing choices I do not agree with.
But again, some of those writing choices have been writing choices we haven't agreed with since they rebooted this.
Yeah.
To be fair. Not all of them, but some of them.
They have been characterization choices that have just plagued this series of movies since the beginning, pretty much.
And we'll get into that with writing, but...
Yeah, but this movie, I genuinely liked it, and no, it is not the same as X3.
Yeah, I'm stunned. It made $252 million on a $200 million budget, which means that the film lost $133 million or so due to, like, marketing, which makes it one of the biggest bombs of all time.
Yeah,
for how expensive it was to make.
Yeah, no, it did not make back all the money that it put into it.
It bombed, but so much of that was purely because it kept getting delayed.
Yeah.
It kept getting changed all the time. certain things didn't sit well with test audiences. God only knows. It's so much of a mess, but basically this is just a general casualty of the Fox-Disney merger. I don't really know how else to put it.
And that sucks so much, because they were really starting to do good with their X-Men films. And people were hyped for Dark Phoenix, and they were hyped for New Mutants, and then the merger comes along, and these are like the casualties of it, and they just suffered so much from that.
I loved the concept of the old New Mutants. I mean, like, we'll get into New Mutants when we actually watch it, but, like, I loved the concept of it.
Yeah, I loved that it looked like it was going to be a horror movie.
So, Vanity Fair in March of 2019 reported that the film had promotion difficulties. Duh. But not solely because they didn't really know how to market it or it had been delayed a bunch of times, but because of the merger between Fox and Disney, they laid off a bunch of, like, the promotion wing of Fox, so they didn't have enough people to actually promote the movie.
Oh my god, what a stupid decision to make. I'm sorry, whoever did that, that was dumb. That was a dumb move on your part.
Yeah, because on top of, like, well, but you have to release these. It's part of the agreement.
You have to release it. Okay, but if you do not put in the effort and the time and the money to promote it, you're not going to get any of that money back.
I mean, that's part of what happened with New Mutants too. They released it in that, like, couple month span of 2020 where people could go to theaters before they shut back down again. You know, nobody went to go see it then because very few people were willing to go to theaters then.
God.
And that's what they did. Because they were not allowed to just release it on streaming.
Yeah, they weren't.
Had to release it in a theater.
And they chose to release it at the worst possible time.
And this one just... It didn't have the standard May time slot. It had been delayed several times. It was just plagued with rumors of problems along the way too, which really didn't help it. And there were also the whole third act was reshot at one point, and there were reshoots due to too many parallels with Captain Marvel, because that was also a space movie. I think that's purely because, and we'll get into this in a minute, purely because of what they actually wanted to do with the villains in this movie versus what they did with them. And that's part of why they had to change things. Yeah. But there were also complaints that the visuals looked too similar to Captain Marvel or something. This is all alleged, but, like, these were things I remember hearing about when the movie was coming out.
I can kind of see it because how this power manifests and how liquidy and flamey it looks compared to the very glowy, flamey that
Captain Marvel had.
Yeah.
I can see that, but at the same time, they're still different movies. They are. Disney, leave them alone.
They are. They're very different movies. And I could see a similarity between them, but they were still very different enough that I wasn't confused about what was going on.
Yeah. So the director and writer this time around is Simon Kinberg. We've covered Kinberg before.
Yes.
Kinberg also, as we covered when we did X3, was one of the writers on X3, along with Zach Penn, who we've covered with The Incredible Hulk and several other things. They were originally unhappy with the final film X3, not Dark Phoenix.
I mean...
because Zach Penn didn't have anything to do with this, as far as I know. But, of course they were both unhappy with that. It was bad.
Yeah, it was a piece of shit. No wonder you were upset about it.
Well, and this led to Kinberg wanting to redo the Dark Phoenix saga.
I mean, a lot of people wanted that.
But according to... The stories had several different iterations. According to, like, old concept art, the original film was meant to be in 2 pieces, but because Apocalypse did not do as well as they wanted it to, the studio was like, no, we're keeping this to 1 movie. We're not making any others with this prequel cast anymore.
Boo, you cowards.
Which sucks because the casting is... far and away the best parts of these movies.
Yeah, the casting has always been the strongest element of all of these movies. As much as we've bitched about some of them, the casting has always been the strongest and best feature of it.
Yeah, the writing is the problem, not the casting. Whatever. But originally what they were supposed to do is they were supposed to do 2 films, and one was supposed to focus on Jean and make you fall in love with her. Like, basically one was supposed to be the Phoenix Saga, and one was supposed to be the Dark Phoenix Saga. That's what they were trying to do.
As it's supposed to be.
But that did not happen. So the original film, when they still had it in 2 parts, was supposed to set Jean up against the Hellfire Club, led by Emma Frost, and Shinobi Shaw.
Damn.
Then we would have also had the Black Bishop, the Black Rook, and the Red Lotus Gang, as well as the Fenris twins, but we will also bring the Fenris twins back up next episode.
It's so... Man, that would have been so cool.
It would have been rad, and I think, originally, that was about the time that they had Chastain hired for this, or she was rumored to be part of it, because there were a lot of rumors of who she was going to play, and her character changed numerous times on her after she'd been hired.
Yeah, I remember for a long time you thought she was going to be Lilandra.
Well, I did, because they kept saying, oh yeah, we're going to do our space stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, they're going to give me Charles's alien girlfriend. They're going to give me Charles's alien girlfriend.
Yeah.
They did not give me Charles's alien girlfriend.
No, they did not.
Rude.
Spoilers.
So, in a rewrite, once they had to combine them all into one movie, the Hellfire Club was replaced by Skrulls. But, of course, because of the merger and the buyout, Disney had rights to the Skrulls, used them in Captain Marvel, and therefore Fox could not use them for this movie anymore.
You know, the irony about this, I just want to point out real quick, is how people lambasted this movie, and they also lambasted Captain Marvel. So they took the Skrulls from this, put it in Captain Marvel, like, no, we're doing this, and guess what? Captain Marvel got lambasted too.
That one was purely because of misogynists, though, because, like we talked about, there's nothing wrong with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And my only issues with this movie are some weird, specific character choices.
Very specific character choices.
They're very odd. And then, obviously, the Skrulls are replaced by the Debari, which is another alien race. They basically are effectively Skrulls.
They look like Skrulls.
They just named them something else.
They do.
Well, they look like Skrulls mixed with Groot.
They do.
Because we literally made the joke when, like, one of them got defaced and you could see the alien,
like
and we're like, I am Groot.
They're green. They look very...
They're greenish brown, so, like, they literally are the Skrulls mixed with Groot.
Yeah, just without the pointy ears. That's literally the only difference.
Yeah, and on top of this, the entire third act was reshot in 2018.
Oh my god!
After this movie, like, this was one of the reasons one of the times it had been delayed, due to poor test screenings. I don't know if this was, I don't know what part of this it included. I don't know if they added stuff in the train thing. I don't know if they removed stuff. I don't know. I don't know what footage it is we're missing or was included because of that. I actually find this third act a lot stronger than Apocalypse's.
It is. It's not only stronger, but it's better shot. It looks amazing.
Because you go from the city fight to the train fight to the end fight,
and you actually,
they're all distinct. They all have different places and timing and pacing. They all have different character moments in them. They actually pause to give character moments in them. I actually really like the end of this movie.
Yeah. It's really...
Whatever.
Like,
I mean...
I've heard of so much stuff about this movie in the years when I was trying to find time to watch it, and then just kept, putting it off and putting it off. And I can tell you that the city fight, the train fight, and then the final fight, it felt like it was an appropriate escalation. I loved the character moments that they fit in there. I actually loved the pacing of it. I loved how we actually had to see the team who were fighting against each other near the end had to come together to fight together.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This is a Jean movie.
Yeah,
Jean is
100%.
a central role. But I love that it also felt like an ensemble movie
when it needed to be. Yeah, 100%.
This
and
movie
those like the distinctions between those fights also feels like issues of a comic book. You have the one issue that is the city fight, and then you get that little bit of story, move on to the next issue, where they end up, like, they cut off right before they get thrown into the train, right? And then you have the opening, the issue is all about, them talking to each other in the train, the escalating stuff outside, then you get a little bit of the fight in the train, and then you move on to the next issue, which is just the culmination of the event or whatever. Like, it felt very comic booky to me. It worked really well for me.
Yeah, but it worked considering how they went from... trying to do 2 movies to only 1. Like, no, you're only getting 1. You have to squeeze all this assload of story into 1 movie.
Well, and I think Claremont's right. It is extremely difficult to do the Dark Phoenix saga justice in a single film.
It is.
So, the fact that they fit as much into this movie as they did
and
is actually kind of impressive.
And they genuinely had a story arc here. They had a story arc that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that is not something that I've ever felt in X3.
Oh, God, no.
I've never felt that in X3.
That one didn't have a story. Also, that one opens with, Jean was always evil and terrible, surprise.
Yeah.
We just repressed the evil part.
No, this felt like a genuine story arc, and it was a genuine story arc between Jean and Charles, and that was everything I ever wanted in this movie.
A lot of the negative reviews for this movie were solely the screenplay and the pacing.
Yeah.
I disagree with the pacing. I thought the pacing was fine.
It's
the screenplay...
It's a lot shorter than a lot of the other movies that came before it.
Yes, and the screenplay, all right.
There are writing decisions.
We can take that L because there are decisions here that make less sense than they have made before now.
There are writing decisions in this that literally do not fit the characters that they are for.
Or even, like, the previous movie.
No, not the previous movie, not character motivations. It's just these decisions. And here's the thing. I like a lot of the writing, but these particular writing decisions are so glaring and so bad that we had to keep pausing to bitch about
it's surrounding the same three characters it's always surrounding, because of course it is. But it had general praise for the visuals, which it better because it's a gorgeous film.
The visuals are amazing in this movie, and I love the coloring. I actually loved a lot of the camera work. The camera work was very strong.
Well, we'll get to that.
And the colors, I loved how the Phoenix Force looked. I loved how it basically got infected with this shit, and it was really nice.
It was really nice. And then there was actual general praise for the acting, even though a lot of people will continue to...
I think Sophie was very strong
whine about Sophie being wooden or whatever, because they never liked Sansa, and we don't do that in this house.
No, in this house we stand Sansa
Sansa Stark.
And I will say that as a Jean stan, probably, most likely...
Yes. Yes.
Look, I will be the first person to criticize when Jean is like an afterthought, or people are like, they barely remember she's there, and then, all of a sudden they remember she's here. Okay, throw her in the plot. Or like in all the times in the cartoon where I'm just like, Jean, what the fuck are you doing? You're useless. Stop it.
Yeah. I will be the first. Me and how this movie specifically tries very hard to ruin my boy.
Like, I will be the first person to admit that stuff with Jean. But in here, I felt Sophie was very strong with Jean. Oh, God,
she was so good.
I do.
She was so good.
And I still think James was great as Charles, even though I don't always agree with a lot of his writing.
It's everyone else's writing around Charles that bugs me. And general praise for the music, because it's Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, the soundtrack was very noticeable in this.
And I mean, we'll get to that when we get to music as well, but the stuff that got praise really deserved it.
Yeah.
We will give it to you for screenplay, because there are decisions here that are rough.
Yeah.
So, on that note, Kinberg hoped that each character would come across having their own valid point of view, and I can see them trying
An attempt was made.
An attempt was absolutely made, but... and I'm gonna finally get into my problems with this.
Yeah.
One, the only thing that has ever been consistent about Raven's writing is that she constantly moves her goalposts.
Every movie.
It's always, movie. I want this, but then suddenly she gets it, but not like this. That is honestly... Not like this.
It's true.
Not like this.
She literally did that in this movie, too. And if you watch these movies when they're released and you had years in between, of course you probably wouldn't notice that much. But by God, you watch these movies concurrently and it is so
There's
noticeable.
Nothing consistent about her character. And in that is the only consistency in her character.
It's her inconsistency.
And her constantly moving her own goalposts.
Yes.
The other thing that really bothers me about this movie, one of the other things, I should say, one of the other major things that really bothers me about this is Hank's writing. Hank's writing has always been kind of messy, too, because they've always made him kind of like this weird, like, friend-zoned simp.
Yeah.
And not enough of, like, this book nerd who really likes just quoting fucking...
Yeah. When I'm like...
Hemingway at you out of nowhere or whatever.
And I'm like, no, Hank McCoy has a mouth on him. He's a sassy little nerd when he wants to be, but
they only bring that out in him in this movie when he's screaming at Charles for something that, one, is not Charles's fault, and two, is not his business to have Charles rationalize to him or apologize for. No. You don't get to accept Jean's apology, Hank. I'm sorry, but it's not your apology to accept.
But also, sir, weren't you the one who was totally okay with enabling, Charles?
Yeah, he's the one that created the drug and enabled Charles overtaking said drug. Mm-hmm. Never did anything about that. Never really stepped in to, do Charles's shit for him.
Nope.
While he was off on his bender or whatever.
No.
Hank's writing is deplorable, but in this movie, Hank's writing is really awful, but it is deplorable in this movie. That's what I mean to say. Because he's blaming literally everything on Charles.
Yeah.
Solely because Raven told him to. And he was in love with her despite the fact that they were not in a relationship. They'd never been in a relationship.
All these years, you couldn't have rustled up the courage.
40 years.
Couldn't have rustled up the courage to ask her out to act on any of these emotions, and then all of a sudden she's dead, and you're mad that you couldn't get any of that, sir. I am sorry. That's a you problem.
It is 100% a him problem. What this movie does is make Hank an incel, and I hate it. I know I joke about that with other characters, like we did that with Daredevil, I joked about that, whatever. I get that they're not the same thing. Hank here is 100% absolutely an incel.
Yeah, he's mad because he couldn't pound that blue pussy. Sorry. We're 20 minutes in, I can say that.
20 minutes in. But yeah, he's absolutely mad that he couldn't tap that.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely mad that his fantasy is gone now. It's not that Raven's gone, it's that he cannot project his fantasy onto Raven anymore.
He can't.
That's what it is.
Yeah, he basically was trying to play house with her without manning up and actually trying to, engage with her.
Yeah, he was trying to play house with her without telling her that that's what he was doing.
Yeah, without engaging with her.
Deeply gross.
In any meaningful, serious adult way.
So this is my biggest problem with Hank's writing, and Hank's writing is actually more irritating to me than Mystique's in this. And that is solely because, on top of this, Hank is trying to imply that through Charles's actions of trying to protect an 8-year-old from the trauma of having killed her parent,
that
Charles is just this massive child abuser.
Yeah.
We should have been protecting them from you.
That was
I'm
awful.
sorry, Hank, but one, you're the one who's been enabling him. You enabled him for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one who's only been around clearly to mac on his sister.
Yeah.
You've been projecting all your stuff onto his sister without her consent because you never asked for it. If anybody needs to be protected from anyone, Hank, it was you.
Yeah, and again, this is not Hank McCoy. Hank McCoy in the comics, and in the cartoon, was
not this.
He was sensitive, he was intelligent, he had a spine, he had a moral compass, he was a good character. He was a well-rounded character, and this is not
No,
Hank.
Hank gets the plot idiot ball in this movie, because on
Big
top
time,
of that,
Jesus.
Then he goes to Magneto to go find Jean because Hank wants to murder a girl he helped Charles raise.
Yeah.
Because she accidentally killed the woman that he was projecting his sexual fantasies on.
You have...
What in the fuck?
You have raised this girl since you have helped raise her since she was 8 years old. You've known her since she was 8 years old. Now you just want to kill her because you failed to act.
But he's family and she protects her family. No, Hank doesn't deserve this, Jean. I'm sorry. But this Hank sucks.
Yeah, and it literally
This Hank went and convinced Magneto by triggering him again. There's my other thing. Magneto getting triggered again with the same goddamn villain plotline all over again.
It literally takes Scott shaming both of them with, this isn't what Raven would want, and you fucking know it. It takes Scott Summers shaming them for them to finally be like, oh yeah, that's right, we've known Jean long enough and we know she wouldn't ever do this intentionally.
Right, but my thing is I understand this more with Eric, even though I really, really, really hate the fact that they constantly make Eric's motivation, we killed a woman you banged once.
The power of boners is stronger.
God, it's awful. But I don't get it from Hank. It's absolutely unconscionable. And then to try and wrap up the movie in this nice bow, and I get that you're trying to do that because you know you're not making anything else. I get it. But to try and wrap this up in a nice bow in the way that you let Hank, the man who tried to murder one of his students of 20-some-odd years, the headmaster of this school, and not bullshit. Scott, when Scott, we all damn well know, is the leader of the X-Men by now. No. This is some shit.
This is what the bullshit. Fuck?
No, Hank should be off retiring as well because he fucked up.
I hate this ending, number one.
No, like,
spoilers, I hate this ending.
If they had made Scott the headmaster of the school, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. It would be fine. I wouldn't even hate the ending with Charles and Eric and Paris pretending to ignore their problems.
No.
I wouldn't care about that if Scott had been the one in charge.
No.
But if Hank's there, I fucking hate it.
No, I would hate this ending. Even if Scott were in charge of the school. And you want to know why? I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I didn't mind Jean's ending because, I'm kind of used to her dying by now. It's fine.
It's what she does. It's what she and Charles do.
She dies and she comes back. It's fine. No, I still would have been angry because you mean to fucking tell me this man who spent 3 fucking movies trying to get this school running, trying to get these kids in this place so they could feel safe, so they could feel welcome, so they could learn all their powers. You're telling me he's gonna spend all that motherfucking time, and the minute at the very end he's gonna be like, oh nope, I'm going to France, bye. No, that's some bullshit. You can't just do that. You can't just ass pull his whole motivation, his whole no.
I fully get it, and I fully understand that, and I fully agree, because I still don't really like that. But at the same time, I would accept it more if it was not just, I left, but not only did I leave, I handed the school over to Hank.
Yeah, that's the...
What the hell?
Look, that's the cherry on top of the shit sundae.
It's awful.
Okay? Like, but the fact that...
Nothing upsets me more than the ending of this movie, honestly, other than Hank being an incel, honestly. But, like, it's so frustrating.
Also, Eric just fucks off from his own little, hipster mutant commune to go to Paris and be like, hey, old friend, I know I almost killed your
daughter.
Your adopted daughter. I know I said a lot of mean shit to you, but how about we play chess and just act like none of this happened?
This is how Eric always apologizes. This is what he did in Days of Future Past, too. He's just like, you know what? We're not going to talk about the bad stuff. I'm just going to distract you with chess, right? Chess, even though chess was the thing that I triggered you with in the first movie. Chess, right? None of that exists right now. We're playing chess, right?
I actually really liked how pissy Charles was at him.
You loved me, right? I'm playing chess with you.
No! You left me bleeding, paralyzed in the sand with Raven's titties out. I'm gonna bring this up every movie because I still can't let it go. And I'm still not letting go. This fucking ending sucks. I'm sorry.
It's awful.
It sucks. And yes, it does. I do get worked up about the fact that Charles just let go his home motivation for all these movies.
The movie tried to frame him as a child abuser, so he couldn't continue to run his school.
That's some...
It is absolutely some bullshit. Are you absolutely kidding me? I hate this.
I'm so angry.
I hate this. But you let Hank stay, and Hank was the one that was like...
He was literally trying to kill them!
Okay. He was literally... I hate it.
He was literally trying to kill someone, but okay, sure.
He was also trying to beat the shit out of the other students that came to stop him from doing it. Like, what the hell? Hank's the worst in these movies. I used to think it was Mystique because it really irritated me how much they just kind of shoved her in places she really didn't belong. But, like, Hank infuriates me.
Yes. And I hate that because I like Hank. I like Hank.
You don't like this Hank?
No. Hashtag not my Hank.
Not kind of like hashtag not my Psylocke, right?
Yes. Yeah. Hashtag not my Beast.
Yes.
Mystique, though, I actually liked how she cared about the team. She cared about the younger mutants. And I'm like, where the fuck was this still kind movies ago?
Right. This was still kind of inconsistent for her, especially when last movie she was the one that was all militant and pushing him too hard and whatever. And now suddenly, no, it's Charles's fault. He's the one doing that. I mean, if you kind of reversed that a little bit, I might have understood.
Yeah.
But again, it's more inconsistency, ergo the only consistency is her inconsistency. But yeah, like, her care for that really came through, and I really appreciated that.
I liked it.
Even with that really cheesy ex-women line, I'm like, God.
Yeah, that was dumb.
It was a little rough.
We didn't need
that. Was a little, end game, girl team up, girl power pandering
I don't need
for me.
that.
But other than that, I actually really liked Mystique in this movie.
I actually liked
it was just unfortunate that they then turned her into Fridged Woman for all these upset dudes.
Pretty much.
It's kind of frustrating. Like, I understood Charles's frustration, and McAvoy is trying his hardest to act through that scene where Hank's trying to act all pissed off. He's trying his hardest to act this out, because, yeah, he would be really fucking upset. His sister just died!
And I also really liked, he was starting to sound a lot like Patrick Stewart when he was, I hope you feel better for railing on me for 5 minutes straight when I'll just put my sister in the ground.
Right? Like,
you motherfuckers, damn it, you ate my lilies. Psh, psh, psh. That movie.
So, additionally, this might have connected to the New Mutant sequels, but this was obviously canceled during the acquisition, and thus scenes were removed from both films that would have set up this interconnectedness. On top of that, because of all these rewrites and stuff kept changing, like I alluded to earlier, Chastain's villain kept changing from iteration to rewrite to rewrite to rewrite. So there was a point where, like, she did not even know Vuk had a name until the movie came out. She legit did not even know her character's name. Her second in command doesn't have a name.
Ain't that some shit?
Right? Yeah, so she didn't even know her character had a name until after the movie came out. To be fair, I don't even remember anybody actually saying it. I remember it being stated in, like, promo stuff, but I don't remember anybody actually saying it.
I mean, we saw it in the captions. That's about it.
Yeah, I don't remember it at all, but...
Because I didn't know how to pronounce it. Is it Vuk or Vuk or what?
I think it's Vuk.
Because it's spelled V-U-K. I'm like, yeah, fuck this.
So, summary of whatever this is.
Whatever this is.
Set in the 1990s, we meet a new X-Men team that's established as public heroes, led by Mystique. They end up going into space to rescue astronauts on a mission gone wrong because they run in with this solar flare-like energy that shouldn't have been there, but just pops up out of nowhere and kind of wrecks their ship.
Ruins everything.
So, in the middle of this rescue, Jean is struck by the solar flare's energy source and miraculously survives the blast because she absorbs it all. And it's basically a force that connects with her Phoenix mutation and corrupts it.
Yeah, basically...
It takes it from Phoenix to Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, it infects her mutation, is what it is. It's an infection.
So they get home, Mystique and Xavier argue about the mission, Raven claiming that it was unnecessary and done only to placate Charles's ego, and it might have been done a little bit to placate his ego. Fine.
Your hubris!
In the meantime, Jean's amplified powers result in an accidental unleashing on the school. Nobody's actually hurt, thank God.
Yeah.
She just kind of... blows up some trees or whatever. It's yeah, and it's
and we finally did get Dazzler for a hot minute.
We did actually get Dazzler for a hot minute. And it's revealed that Charles had placed mental blocks on Jean due to her trauma resulting from a car crash where she inadvertently caused the crash because her mutation surfaced. She didn't know what she was doing with it. Kind of knocked her mom out. Which led to the car crashing, her mother dying.
A horrific car crash.
Jean had thought that her father had died.
Yeah.
Charles had lied to her about this. Basically because her dad was like, I can't do this. She killed my whole world that day.
Pretty much.
I can't handle her.
Why are you giving him a southern accent?
I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask. I don't know.
That was so weird.
It's about the only thing I can do. I don't know. Anyway, he's a jerk.
Yes.
Whatever. Jean's dad is awful. He pulls a... whatever that other Drake kid's name is in X2. Like, Rodney or whatever in the hell. Bobby's brother's name.
Oh, I don't know.
He basically becomes Bobby's brother in X2 and calls the cops when Jean figures out that her dad's still alive and goes to visit him, and he freaks out and is like, well... you killed your mother. you killed my whole world that day. You died with her. Sorry. And I'm surprised he didn't die then by Jean.
Yeah, I am. I'm surprised too.
He does, but not by Jean.
It's what she deserved.
So the amplified power that's corrupted her Phoenix mutation has begun to erode at the mental blocks, and she has memories of her father, and shit happens. So, unable to process the incident with her dad, the X-Men come in to go rescue her and take her home, and this ends up in a fight, and she ends up killing Mystique.
Unfortunately. It was actually a really good scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
When
for as much as we complain about Mystique in these movies, it was actually very effective.
It was a really good scene. Charles was trying to let her de-escalate the situation. I really liked the sound design of it. I liked seeing it in context. I liked the editing. It was a good, solid scene.
Yeah, also, in the middle of this summary, can we just talk about how Hank is also the one that's willing to shoot Jean in this scene?
Yeah, shoot her with something to, like, take her down.
I'm pretty sure it's a taser, but, like, still, he's the one that's just like, immediately, I'm gonna shoot her. Like, bruh, you should not be the one running a school. No. What the hell? Anyway, so as a result, Jean refuses to go home and isolates herself. She's freaking out. She's crying. What have I done? Oh, no.
Oh, and she knocked Peter literally into a coma.
Yeah, she knocks Peter into a coma.
Poor Peter.
Peter is not seen until literally the end of the movie again. Bye, Peter.
Sir not appearing in this film.
Pretty much. She's then found by Vuk, an alien from a race of shapeshifters, like Skrulls, but clearly at the same time they're not Skrulls, cough cough, who has sought her out from her connection with this space energy, one that supposedly resulted in both the eradication of her own planet, but is also, like, the reason the Big Bang happened or something.
AKA she's lying.
Pretty much. She offers to help Jean use this safely. Jean's like, oh, okay. Because she's really fucking upset and traumatized right now.
And she's so desperate to get control over the situation, because her life went from being really great to being complete shit in a matter of, what, a day?
Minutes. Literal minutes. So meanwhile, Hank blames Xavier for Raven's death and runs off to Magneto's secluded mutant paradise, resulting in an attempt to kill Jean in New York City.
Because, as you do.
Because that's exactly all you ever have to do to get Eric to do anything is go, much. You know what, somebody you love died.
Someone you banged died. Bye!
Either someone he loves, like family, or someone he banged.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
Pretty much.
Someone you love died.
I'm gonna go murder them.
Let's go murder the person who did this, even though Eric just got done giving this whole speech to Jean right before this.
About how vengeance didn't get him anywhere.
Didn't do anything for him, and he stopped killing people because it wasn't worth it, and it never got him the peace that he wanted.
It never got the satisfaction that he wanted. Never brought him the happiness he wanted.
But then Hank comes in and is like, look, I want you to help me go find Jean so I can murder the hell out of her. And he's like, yo, you know what? Cool. I'll help you go do that. What's up?
Oh, wait. He murdered Raven, the woman that I would never settle down with or, do anything with, but I claim to love so intensely. I'll murder her!
Pretty much.
That's pretty much what happens.
Yes. So, after Magneto's resulting defeat, the mutants are in pursuit by the U.S. government because of all these incidents that Jean has supposedly caused at this rate. Because the first one, her dad had to call the police because why else were the police there? They wouldn't have been there.
I'm just amazed.
And then they found out from, like, trying to chase her down on Magneto's mutant paradise, and then she fucks up a helicopter, and suddenly this is, like, the worst thing she's ever done. We're never gonna address the fact that Magneto literally murdered millions of people in the prior film.
Over the planet, I might add.
Sure, fine. We're just gonna forget that happened, I guess.
I just realized something. That scene in the bar where she's pretending to be an old man to everybody else's eyes. Mm-hmm. What if that was supposed to be the Stan Lee cameo?
Stop it!
Oh,
stop it!
That's made myself sad.
That's really upsetting. Don't do that. Don't do that. So while also contending with Jean's powers and Vuk's wanting to control them, and there you go.
That's the whole.
That's
summary.
it.
Which, to be honest. Not gonna lie, with everything they had to deal with on this production, I still think they actually came up with a pretty solid story.
Yeah.
Given everything they went through.
There are just writing choices that I really dislike, but they're writing choices that I have disliked from the beginning. from the beginning.
Yeah, I feel like it's a pretty solid story about the Phoenix Force.
Yeah, I think so too. I know that a lot of people don't like that they changed how the Phoenix Force worked.
You're
gonna again have to do that when you truncate 2 movies into 1 movie.
But also, I liked it. I liked getting this twist because I have seen this story so many times that it's actually nice to see a different interpretation of it.
It
wasn't bad.
That isn't whatever the hell X3 did.
Yeah, not that version. I don't like that version.
Yeah. So, primary returning cast, Sophie Turner, which was her first big leading role.
Are we sure about that? Because I thought she was...
That's what was cited. She'd been in other things, but I think that they'd, like, tried to cite, like, the other big actor in it ahead of her at the point. But, like, she might have been in, like, some indie stuff, but this was, her first big, like, headliner.
Well, I mean, I feel like she did have a starring role in The Other Me, where it was literally, like, her trying to deal with a weird doppelganger, but
to be fair, this might have been made technically before that.
No, it wasn't. This was made when she was still only on Game of Thrones.
Well, then I don't know. That's what was cited. It was the first big headlining.
It's the first big budget headliner.
Whatever. And then you have Fassbender, McAvoy, Lawrence, Holt, and Ty Sheridan, and then we add Jessica Chastain as Vuk,
who I actually really liked in this one.
It is very noticeable sometimes when they did not get rid of her eyebrows all the time, because every once in a while I'd be like, oh, her eyebrows are growing back. Secondary returning actors would be Evan Peters, Cody Smith-McPhee, and Alexandra Shipp. And then you have Scott Shepherd playing John Gray. There we go. Oh, and Otto Asando, who played the second in command to Vuk, who had no name.
Yeah, Another Me. It was made in 2013.
Well, I don't know. Don't ask me. That was just what was cited, and I just read it.
I'm just saying.
I don't know, okay? And then you had cameos, including Brian Darcy James as the president, Halston Sage as Dazzler, and Chris Claremont was also in it again as one of the guests at the White House. Do you have any other notes on the acting that we haven't covered? Because we covered a few of them. Other than people claiming that Ty Sheridan can't act around his visor, I extremely disagree with anyone telling me that, because I can see all of the emotion on his face, regardless of his eyes or eye line.
Yeah, no, Ty Sheridan was just fine in this movie, and he emoted just fine. Shut up.
I will fight you.
You guys just don't like... you guys are just
mean.
You're just mean. You don't like Scott.
Y'all just don't like Scott Summers. Y'all are just mean, like that Lisa Simpson meme. You're all just mean.
I love James McAvoy as Charles in this. I thought Sophie was incredibly solid as Jean. Mm-hmm. I believed a lot of her fear, her frustration, her horror, her everything. Mm-hmm. I thought she did really good. I still really like Ty Sheridan as Scott. Haters gonna hate.
Fight me.
Jennifer Lawrence, I felt this was probably her best turn as Mystique.
It's probably her best writing as Mystique, sadly enough, and that's when they turn her into a plot device.
I mean,
that sucks.
Nicholas Hoult, sure, he can act, but I still hate
what they did with Hank, and it's really frustrating.
Fassbender, I'm actually surprised at how late he came into the movie, but again, I thought he was solid as usual.
Thank God they didn't actually make him the primary villain for once.
For once! For fucking once.
For once.
I really liked a lot of the others. It's really sad that Evan Peters literally got knocked into a coma. He
was probably busy.
He probably
doing, like, American Horror Story or something.
He probably was,
actually.
Had to,
like, leave mid-production or something.
Well, also, he was in a season of Pose, I think, too.
Yeah, he's busy.
He's been busy.
He's busy.
But I think...
He's thriving.
But I will say this. A lot of people wanted to claim Jessica Chastain. I heard them saying that Jessica Chastain's performance in this was very, cold. It was, it was flat.
It was supposed to be cold.
It was. I could tell that's what she was going for. Okay, she was intentionally being this way, but also I got ASMR tingles from a lot of her line delivery, so maybe I'm a bit biased, but I really loved her line delivery.
But
Don't
also,
touch me.
That was probably part of the intent. I'm just gonna say it.
I really liked her like this. was
anything that was wrong with that character was the lack of character.
Yeah. It was the lack of character, and that's not on her.
No, that's not
God
on her.
knows.
She was doing her goddamn best with what they gave her.
She was doing her best, damn it. She's Jessica Chastain. She is doing her damnedest in every script she has. And
now, can you imagine if we'd gotten her in the same movie with Oscar Isaac?
Oh my god. It would have exploded. Are you kidding me? No, they can't.
She already did explode.
But shut up. Shut up.
I'm extremely funny, whatever. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm extremely funny.
Sure, the jury's still out on that matter.
Yeah, no, I thought she was fine with what they gave her, and the fact that they changed her character no less than 3 times.
Like, she's weirdly uncanny, she's calming, but at the same time, she can very easily turn creepy. And I really liked the scene where her original human self goes out there to see what the dog's barking at.
And then you see the Groots. And they're so scary.
It's actually genuinely scary. Mm-hmm. It was really creepy, and I liked it.
It had some good horror movie moments. I really appreciated it.
So yeah, I thought the acting, again, the casting in these movies. The casting
is so superb.
It's so good, and it's so strong. And I also really loved that special mention for Nightcrawler finally choosing violence.
Yes.
He
grew up.
He did.
That one moment where he does like that creepy grin in the dark, I'm like, thank you.
That's the shit right there. That was the money shot.
It was so good. Mm-hmm. It was so good.
Yeah, I felt the acting was really good all around.
The casting is so superior. They made me care about Cyclops. They also gave him the fuck word in this movie, which made me extremely happy.
And Eric looked shocked.
Yeah, like Cyclops was like threatening to murder Eric, which was beautiful.
I will fucking kill you. And
like,
Eric's just looking. I'm like, oh my god.
Like, this is not the same Cyclops we got, who was just around like to look cool and be like, "That's my girl, yo." I listened to NSYNC, yo. That's my girl, yo.
He looked so stunned.
That's my girl. It's my girl. No, like, we actually get a relationship in this.
Yes.
We actually get some... I actually believe the chemistry in this.
Yes.
They actually give us reasons for this relationship existing.
Mm-hmm. Because they had build-up.
I love it so much.
It was very cute. And again, I really, really loved Jean and Charles' relationship.
Yes.
He was just like, no, let me take you home and adopt you and take care of you because you're a telepath like me.
I'm just telling you your dad died because it's so much easier than telling you your dad hates you.
He was trying, like, the motivation in this movie is so much better than the one in X3, where it literally is them just trying to control her.
She's evil, and we want to control her.
Yeah, they make her out to be evil. They make her out like they're trying to control her. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel that Charles really cared about Jean.
No, not in any way. It was really frustrating.
In this movie, Charles immediately sees her as like a daughter, the daughter he never had, and he's like, no, I understand you. I understand what you're going through, and I'm going to help you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna fix you because you are not broken, but I will help you, and I will help give you the life that you deserve, all the happiness that you deserve, because I want that for you.
And we find this out also in the scene where Jean and Charles are having this final conversation.
Yeah.
Where they're reconciling this.
Yes.
And, like, I remember watching this, and I'm like, this is exactly the conversation the movie needed to have.
Yes.
Not... You don't need to justify this shit to Hank. Why the fuck is...
You don't need to
You don't have to do anything to Hank. This isn't Hank's business to take an apology for.
This is not anyone's business but yours and Jean's.
But then you have this conversation with Jean, and she's like, I know what you did out of love, and I forgive you.
Yeah. It wasn't... There was nothing malicious about what he was doing.
Which is not... This is a very big departure from X3, because it did feel deliberate and malicious.
Yes.
In the first one, because we're scared of you and what you can do, and you were super evil, and this creepy kid that belonged in a Stephen King movie. This Jean is not that.
No, this Jean, like, the cold open in this movie was so effective. Like, that car crash was horrific. Oh, that poor kid survived that. Like, can you imagine being 8 years old, something beyond your control happened, and you end up being blamed for your mother dying?
And your father hates you.
Yeah.
And considers you dead because his wife is dead. Yeah, I would think, Charles is in the wrong for lying to her about this.
Yeah.
Beyond an age where, like, when she became an adult, like, maybe it's the time to have the conversation,
Yes.
right? Kind of like all those stories about, like, adopted kids that don't know they're adopted until they're way, way too old to know this. Like, no, maybe you kind of, like, slowly introduce these things so that you can kind of get over the trauma, Chuck, just pointer. But at the same time, like, he's not doing this to be a douchebag. He just wanted her to, like, have a normal goddamn life.
People wanted to say that this, like, stripped her of her agency, and I'm like, no. That happened in X3.
That was X3.
That was X3. Here, he did it because he was literally trying to help her get beyond this horrible thing that happened and actually
that she was never gonna get over.
Yeah, she was never gonna get over that shit.
No, that is extremely traumatic.
Yes.
Extremely traumatic, and it's still extremely traumatic for her, to be fair. But
he shouldn't have kept it a secret all that time, but I understand his motivation, and it is fitting for him, and it was clearly done to protect her, not to control her like in X3.
Yeah.
Completely different motivations.
Completely different things. Completely different thing. Moving on from acting, the cinematographer for this movie is Mauro Fiore, I believe is how you say that. He's Italian, so I assume it's Fiore. We haven't talked about him before. So his other work includes Lost Souls, Training Day, Tears of the Sun, Smoking Aces, and Cameron's Avatar. That's why this movie looks the way it does. He made Cameron's Avatar.
Tears of the Sun was an exceptionally depressing movie.
He also made Real Steel with Hugh Jackman, the Magnificent Seven remake.
I actually really like the Magnificent Seven remake.
And he did Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh my god.
Again, that's why this movie looks the way it does.
I love the look of this movie.
The look of this movie is so good.
It's so fucking pretty. I love
We've
the
gone
colors.
on about this, but the colors are gorgeous. It's extremely
so
vibrant.
Good. It is. It's so good.
So good.
And I love a lot of the lighting. You can actually see most of this movie. I love the camera work. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
It works really well. It is. I mean, we've gone on about this a lot, but it's gorgeous. We love the look of it. The special effects are perfect. It's stunning.
There is a reason to go on about this because it looks so much better.
It actually does the nice CGI that I wish the other movie had done.
Yeah, it looks so much better than Apocalypse.
Oh my god, it looks so much better than Apocalypse.
And the final fights look so much better than the 40-minute fight at the end of Apocalypse.
Yes.
They work better, they're paced better, and they just blow it out of the water. And that's why I'm, hemming and hawing over it, because it looks so good.
It does.
I also really loved the opening title card. I loved the cold open.
I love that it didn't feel like a Bryan Singer movie.
That too.
I should have just said, who shall not be named, but we're not bringing him up other than that. Because it didn't look like one of those movies. They did all new stuff for this. The music was all new. Like, it was very nice.
And speaking of the music, Hans... Like, you can't really get a better guy to do your superhero movie than Hans Zimmer.
And he didn't even want to do superhero movies at the time.
No, not after Batman v Superman, which I can't blame him.
Yeah, so basically, that's what I have to say about this. But it did not use any of Ottman's old score.
Yeah.
Very obvious, and I appreciated it, actually. He originally did not want to do superhero films after Batman vs. Superman, but Ron Howard convinced him basically to not write off the whole genre, and then he was like, okay, fine. So he wrote 16 hours of music for this movie. 16 hours.
Okay, fine. Whatever you say, Ron Howard goes to write 16 hours for this one movie.
Right. And there was so much music that they actually released a second soundtrack called Experiments from Dark Phoenix.
Nice.
And it was very much the precursor to the Dune sketchbook.
Nice.
Where they released, like, the concept stuff from Dune that was not used in the movie. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see him edging into Dune with this movie a little bit. But they originally didn't want to release that second album because the movie bombed so bad. And Hans Zimmer's like, excuse you, I wrote 16 hours of music for this movie.
Hans Zimmer, you
are going to release this album.
You are going.
So then they released it digitally and not as like an actual album.
Wow.
And that's how they got around doing it. And I've listened to it. It's chef kiss.
I actually the soundtrack in this is very, very solid. It's very noticeable, unlike some of the other outings.
Unlike most of the movies we have mentioned in the last, I don't know how many episodes.
Yeah.
Because most of them, it's like, okay, yeah, the music was there, it wasn't interesting, whatever, move on.
A lot of the time, the soundtrack for a lot of these superhero movies is unfortunately just background noise. It barely even figures into anything. There are very few of these superhero movies that have a genuine instrumental score that actually stand out and you remember it and you notice it and you're like, I really like that.
And this is why I preferred Matthew Vaughn's movie to the two movies afterward. Not because I dislike the token X-Men movie sound, it's just we've heard it before.
Yeah.
Many, many times by this point.
I still like
We didn't really need it again, it's fine, can we try something new?
I still really like parts of Days of Future Past and, yeah, that one scene from Apocalypse, but I will say that this soundtrack is far stronger.
This movie is far stronger, I mean.
Yes.
Anybody claiming it's worse, I challenge you to really think about that.
I challenge you to go back and actually sit down and watch X-Men 3.
I challenge you to watch the last 40 minutes of both movies and tell me which one is more interesting. That's what I challenge anybody to do, because as much as I was, like, very here for Oscar Isaac and everything ever...
Yes.
What did you do to Apocalypse? What the hell did you do?
You made him big, blue, and bloated.
Bald.
Bloated.
So, okay, overall rating for this movie, for you.
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, actually.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. Some of the writing choices, and again, that ending really just, they hashtag trigger me.
I know.
In a big way.
I know, but
because it's just, it just doesn't make any sense for these characters. It's also kind of disappointing in a way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Not just because I like the characters, but because you go through all of these movies and then you get to this one and you know it's the last one, and this is how they're gonna do them. Yeah. These are the choices they're gonna make. It really sucks.
That's fair. And like when I initially rated this film, I am one of the few 5-star ratings on Letterboxd for this movie.
Oh, I know. I know.
I don't think that I would rate that at that today. I'd probably still give it a 4.5 because, again, those glaring things that I have issues with are really frustrating. What the hell is this Hank? What the hell is this Hank?
Yeah.
Why did we suddenly turn Mystique from, like, plot god to MacGuffin?
to dead.
It's just, there are some decisions in this that I'm like, what were you doing?
Like,
trying to originally make 2 movies, so that's what they were doing.
Like, I do understand that they went through some hell in production. This sounds like a hellish production, and then they had reshoots, and then they had
I'm really surprised this didn't get stuck in development hell forever.
I'm surprised.
I still really am.
I'm genuinely surprised that the end product was as good as it was, because from what we now know, this movie had zero right being as good as it actually was, but the stuff that sticks out to me just really sticks in my craw in a big way.
Kind of like Apocalypse, with all of its money and all its good things, had no right looking the way it did.
Pretty much. This movie looked a hell of a lot...
Opposite. It was a better looking movie than some of the plot deserved.
This movie looked so much better in comparison to Apocalypse.
Oh, 100%.
Just so much better.
The minute you get rid of you-know-who, it's just like insta-better. I'm like, thank God, why didn't you do this earlier?
Because they thought that his name would still bring in the money, and guess what? It didn't.
It did not.
Nope.
So that's where we stand with Dark Phoenix. We actually enjoy Dark Phoenix. Surprise.
Yeah. Dark Phoenix is a very solid iteration of this story. It's using, similar story and plot points, but it is not the same retread. It's got different twists. It's got a different take on it, and I really liked it.
So, thank you for listening to this episode of FANSPLAINED. If you enjoy what we do, consider donating on Ko-fi. Everything we make goes right back into the production quality of the show. We appreciate all of our subscribers and everything you do, and we're thankful for anything from Hulk smashing that like button to your questions and comments on each episode, and especially sharing the show with your friends. Also, hello, all of you new subscribers. We're very happy to have you here.
Yeah.
FANSPLAINED is a weekly media criticism and deep dive podcast, and we're almost back to doing things weekly. Imagine that.
Almost.
And we are currently still working our way through the chronological order of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Next episode, we'll be continuing our multiversal hiatus with The Gifted Season 1.
Oh, goody.
You can find... Don't sound so excited. You can find our updates here on YouTube as well as on Twitter and Coffee at FANSPLAINED. If you want more of our conversations on the MCU and other fandoms, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for new episode notifications. So until next time, Salt Shakers, this has been Ryan
and Em
with the FANSPLAINED podcast, and we will see you next week.